Saintess summons skeletons. By Morn. Chapter 571, Enshrouded. Any success? Iwara asked after waiting for a while. No. The mana here is really too thick, I can hardly perceive anything. Normally I can feel things like a good kilometer or two away if I focus, but here it's hard to even see what's in front of me. And the locket is unresponsive, Iwara added. Our best choice might still be to have you get closer and try to feel the essence resonance. I still can't even feel the essence you have, so that's a bad start. That is true, but we are starting to lack options. Should we proceed with the preliminary elimination? If only identifying worked. Yeah, let's start taking the obviously wrong ones down. Keeping only sorrow and progress rune ones. Certainly, Iwara agreed, and he quickly got to work. Extending his arm several meters, he started grabbing the flying shrouds one by one, precisely plucking them out of the air. Whenever he touched one, it fell to the floor like a lifeless rag. Sofia observed him work silently. When he was done, about 40% of the shrouds remained, which was still more than 1,000 of them, but already a lot better. Out of those, about 1 out of 20 had a progress rune while all others had sorrows. Just going by the imbalanced quantity, I feel like we can eliminate the progress ones as well. It is sorrow's artifact to begin with, but since it's a set item with an artifact of progress, the quantities could be misleading. There is no reason to take that risk quite yet, Iwara told Sofia, turning around. True. What else do we have to work with? Color, patterns. Textile, Iwara suggested. It is not easily noticeable, but I can tell from the feel of all the ones I have taken down already, there are different kinds of threads. It stands to reason that the genuine one would be made of a rare and special textile. The weave is also different depending on the cloth, I think, but this is not something I am very knowledgeable about. Good catch. But we can't touch them without either picking or eliminating, so how do we even do this? Can you try tearing up some of the ones that are already down? Sofia asked. Certainly, but what do you have in mind? What better way to observe the textile quality than to rip it apart? Interesting. Let's try. Iwara picked up some of the fallen shrouds and started effortlessly tearing them in two. Depending on how hard it was to tear them, he and Sofia placed the halved shrouds into 6 piles. There were 3 types of thread and 2 types of weave. Out of those, 2 of the thread types ripped apart easily while the third required Iwara to actually try. The 2 weaves were actually easy to differentiate once one knew where to look, as one made the cloth smooth and silky, almost a bit reflective, while the other one was just regular cloth. We might have noticed the silky weave earlier had we shown any light, Iwara commented. We can both see in the dark, so at least now we know. If we think the artifact needs to be of the highest quality, then it can't be the regular weave, right? Iwara had to stop and think for a second, his hand on his chin, playing with his short beard. Perhaps. I am slightly wary, however, as I recall old tales of greed being the undoing of man, and these would often feature plain-looking artifacts hidden amongst piles of treasure. This place being so old, this trial could very well have been inspired by such tales. I see exactly what kind of stories you mean. They're still around. There was that one about a golden sword in a lake or something. And one about some vampire's blood cup? How likely is it though? Who even makes divine artifacts? That could be a lead. Well, people make them. Craftsmen, with the help of the divine. But leaving your personal mark on a divine artifact is frowned upon. A notable thing is that every divine item should have at least one kind of uniquely rare and powerful material to hold the essence, but in this case, a single string of sufficiently rare origin could do, so spotting it would be quite the feat. What kind of string is that rare? Royal Kleptron silk, perhaps. What would Mom want? How about the locket, what is it made of? Sofia asked. I am uncertain. I would guess a Damian steel, but it is hard to tell without damaging it. The essence holding material inside the locket is a small purple gem. If it really is a Damian steel, then we could forget about this whole cheap-looking thing. After a while, and comparing with Sofia's Damian steel reinforced scepter, they decided that the locket was probably indeed a Damian steel, and chose to try to eliminate the low-quality shrouds. Eliminating those with the wrong weave was quite easy. They just needed to shine some light and observe the reflectiveness of the cloth. Except that the ambient mana was so thick and turbulent that it actually distorted light, making things a lot harder. The elemental candle solved the issue, as although it had a very short range, its light was unhindered by the mana. Iwara just held the candle up near the flying shrouds, and whenever one was non-reflective, he picked it out. Sofia held her breath every time Iwara picked out a shroud, but without fail, the shroud fell limply on the floor. They had guessed correctly, the correct shroud was made using the silky weaving technique. This thinned the number of shrouds by around half, and now there were few enough left flying around that Sofia could actually start to guess accurately how many that was. We still have about 700 of them to sift through. Thus the obvious next step is to get rid of the 2 inferior textiles, Iwara said, stretching his arms as if they were sore from all the grabbing. So far we can only tell which is which by touching, so that's not going to work. I wish Cynthia was here right now. Or her weaver mom. How about I try to get a look from the spiritual realm? Sofia suggested after a while. I fear this might be dangerous, considering the current environment, Iwara warned. Well, I don't have to go myself. Sofia summoned the graveyard. The ambient mana was messing everything up, yet Sofia still managed to summon a few graveyard skeletons. They were horrifyingly deformed, but their function was seemingly intact. Boys! Observe the shrouds from the spiritual plane, don't touch anything, just raise a hand if you notice anything out of the ordinary. The skeletons unanimously raised their hands almost instantly. Well, it's worth going to take a look, Sofia reacted with a small laugh. Iwara nodded, be quick. To do things properly, Sofia walked to the center of the room, laid down on the ground not too far from the sarcophagus, and let one of the skeletons grab her head into the spirit realm. She instantly understood what the skeletons had seen, some of the shrouds very glowing like miniature white suns in the spirit realm, maybe 90 out of the remaining 700, and many more that were already on the floor. She could only observe this for about a second before she was forcibly pulled out of the spiritual realm, or rather, her head became twisted and deformed like the graveyard skeletons, and it became a dead limb, no longer able to perceive anything. Sofia was suddenly alone with only her thoughts, her crippled mana senses, and her sense of touch. Ugh, that felt disgusting. How do I fix this? I might still be able to see through the tokens, but they're not able to see in the dark. I can't cut it off and heal because of the unlife runes, so no choice but to die, right? Hopefully the mana here doesn't mess with the runes too much. Sofia grabbed the dagger from the hole in her chest and lined it up to stab her mana heart. Warm hands caught her wrists before she could kill herself. Iwara? Sofia stopped trying to stab herself, waiting to see what Iwara wanted to do. Without warning, he picked her up and started walking. At least that's what it felt like. It was when he pulled her into the narrow tunnel of the mana ley line that Sofia understood what was going on. Iwara had exactly the same concern as her, so to make sure the revive would go unhindered by the extreme environment, he was bringing her out. After exiting the ley line, he jumped a few thousand meters up the hole, until the mana was back to a still high but not extreme level, and put Sofia's hand in position. She stabbed herself. She came to life back 3 seconds, her demonic head as good as new. Thank you. That could have been dangerous to do down there. I know, Iwara said, tapping her on the shoulder, let us get back to it. Discover anything? I did, but it's going to be hard to use until we've narrowed down the number a lot more, Sofia said before explaining what she had seen. Iwara and Sofia went on to find a way to remove the low-quality shrouds, then they started to focus on the colors, removing all shrouds which were dyed or embroidered with something not in Sorrow's colors, which were grey, black, white, and purple. After a few more rounds of such eliminations, including one making use of the spirit plane information, there were only about 20 shrouds remaining. Now, out of those, Sofia and Iwara already knew which to remove. It was extremely simple, as they had noticed one last thing the more shrouds they eliminated. All shroud embroidery patterns were in the room in 3 identical copies. Out of all the shrouds that were left, only one embroidered design had its 3 copies remaining, surviving all other elimination rounds until now. Sofia and Iwara were uncertain, but with no better option after a lot of thinking, they decided on eliminating all other designs. Iwara's hands trembled in dread and anticipation every time he grabbed a shroud. They had been correct. Almost there, Iwara said with a tired sigh of relief, looking up at the 3 sole remaining shrouds flying in circles around the sarcophagus. Sofia gulped. Now it's 1 in 3. Chapter 572, Gee Odd Jobs. The 3 remaining shrouds looked perfectly identical. They were made of what looked like fine dark purple silk, embroidered with gold threads. The embroideries were elegant and simple, their thin golden threads drawing a repeating pattern out of sorrow's rune that covered almost the entire shrouds, with a margin the width of a hand from the borders, which were themselves thinly decorated with a darker, almost black lining with very fine flowery patterns that could only be seen from up close. Sitting on the floor, Sofia and Iwara observed the 3 shrouds flying in a circle for almost 2 hours, trying a few different things without producing any results. Sofia broke the silence with a sigh. I really can't see or feel any difference. I hate to admit this, but neither do I, Iwara replied. Do you maybe want to try the spiritual plane again? He asked without much enthusiasm. A 4th time? I would rather just find a way to get to the recessed plane again, at least I might be able to follow the essence. If only it were that easy. I am normally able to see divine essence carried by mortals, but down here in the forbidden layer I might as well call myself blind. Can you usually see the essence in this? Sofia asked, bringing out her dagger. Of course. This one makes it hard to even see the other ones. If I have to describe it, it is like a cold Sunday. A cold sun? Interesting. How do you describe Mom's? Warm and lonely, he answered without hesitation, a smile in his voice. Not to worry, it is but a matter of time before you learn to see them too. This is something all apostles are naturally built for, after all. Is this something you can like? Turn on and off. It is simply an evolution of mana senses, in a way. You use them in a slightly different way, allowing you to see not the essence directly, but their effect on the surrounding mana. Sofia nodded, and how about the essences from the deep, what do they look like? Holes, Iwara answered, like a disturbing lack of anything, so perfect that it can only be artificial. Your entire head is like that ever since your racial evolution. If you wanted to hide your divine essence, pushing it all to your head might be a good idea. Although, and I meant to warn you of this earlier when I noticed it but never got the opportunity, but your mana heart is the same. It makes it easy to spot, that is a very bad thing. Good to know. I can work with that. As for my head. Well, it probably has to do with the eye, she said, taking off the small bone protection she usually kept on it as it protruded out of the top of her head slightly in demon form, and she did not need everyone to see Aphinaretha's rune. A gentle golden light spread from the uncovered eye, illuminating the room and the shrouds. I still have no idea how to use it, she added. I am relatively sure that it is for one of my racial skills, but I've not managed to make anything happen. Supposedly the Demon King can help with that. Iwara stroked his short pitch-black beard. Truth be told, I would not be surprised were he to show up right here and now. The Headless One is such a person. You were expecting someone, an unknown voice called out from the entrance. Iwara was quick to get into a fighting stance, his magic flaring up despite the dangers of the environment. Sofia stayed on the ground, observing the newcomer taking a few steps into the room. She was silently communicating to Parith and Bookie that they should be ready to come and fight at a moment's notice. Who are you? How did you reach this place? Iwara asked in a booming voice. Sofia had never heard him so serious. The man stopped. He was quite tall, probably as much as Saintess, had pointy ears like an elf or a vampire, blonde hair tied up in a ponytail, a single dark red horn sprouting out from his right temple, and hid his face with a brown mask. The mask in particular was quite eerie, with 6 holes in a circle and a 7th one in their center, all spewing out a bright red light. I just walked in, he answered Iwara's query, how else? Don't play dumb, Iwara continued. The man clicked his tongue. This is what I get. So much for being a god or some shit, no respect from anyone. All I do is run errands, he complained. Speed's delivery services, he finally explained. I've got a letter here for a Vakri. Vakar. Anyway, that's you? No, he said, looking past Iwara at Sofia. Speed. Sofia and Iwara both repeated, incredulous. Yeah? That's what I said. Got hearing problems? What, never seen a god who wasn't a jobless slob? Well, now you have. So what's it gonna be? Are you taking that letter or not? Wait, a letter for me, could it be? Speed is much too weak to enter the physical realm, Iwara replied, not trusting a word of the masked man. Well shit, I didn't come here to be insulted like this. So what if I'm weak? Any of us essence blobs can come here if we accept enough restrictions. Matter of fact, I'm here. And you could effortlessly paint the walls with my insides if you ever managed to land a hit. Speed's all I got, but I've got it, he explained with a shrug, so I repeat myself, will you take the damn letter? Iwara was going to talk again but Sofia answered first. I'll take it. Finally, the man said, appearing in front of Sofia before Iwara could even react, please send some of your mana into this orb to confirm the delivery, about 10,000 should be enough, he said, shoving a rune-covered golden ball in front of Sofia's face. Sofia nodded and sent some mana into the orb, which then disappeared and was replaced by the closed envelope the man had been holding in his other hand. Perhaps because Sofia was being too slow, the envelope disappeared from the man's hand to reappear in Sofia's. There we go, job's done, CY. Wait. Sofia called out, cutting the man mid-sentence. You're really speed, right? For the third time, yes. Seriously, this is annoying. Here, Sofia cut the man again, presenting a small red rock the color of the man's horn to him. This was the wasted mana heart of Speed she had found in the Kijdakik city. Speed made a surprised sound, the red rock appearing in his hand, which he brought up close to his mask, before it appeared back in Sofia's hand. Thanks for being considerate enough to bring this up, but it's got nothing to do with me, this thing. Wait, really? How? Speed died, Speed answered, previous one, I mean. No idea why. The other gods seem to think he killed himself. Not my problem either way. I've only been a thing for like 20-something years? Youngest and fastest god, that's me, he said, pointing at himself with a thumb, anyway, gotta go, see you later Shadow Dude and Demon Hottie. With these last words, he disappeared, as if erased from existence, the only trace of him even coming being the blank sealed envelope in Sofia's hand. His departure was followed by a long and awkward silence. The three shrouds were still flying behind Sofia, she checked that her things were all still there, and they all were. Did a god just stop by to deliver mail? Sofia finally asked. It seems so, Iwara answered, just as stunned as Sofia was by the event. This, Sofia said, looking at the blank envelope from every angle, Cynthia said the Demon King would send me a letter. I didn't expect. Oh, is that so? This would certainly explain the outrageous delivery method. And as expected, the timing is. I should open it, right? Well, the artifact is not going to disappear. Let's see, Sofia idly said as she slid a nail under the blank wax seal. The envelope contained a single page of paper. There was a single line of text on it, handwritten in black ink. To read this letter, acquire the shroud first. Be smart, think like an apostle, Sofia read out loud. And here I thought he might be helpful. That does sound like the headless one I have met, Iwara commented with a sigh. What is even the point of sending this now? This line. This means he purposely meant for it to arrive before I finish the trial. He may be trying to give you some extra motivation, perhaps. As if I needed that. What I need is information, not motivation. Think like an apostle, Sofia repeated as she observed the three shrouds. This is a clue, right? What could he mean by? Did you notice something? Iwara asked, seeing Sofia freeze. IWA. We were both tricked, Sofia mumbled, turning her head, a large grin spread on her face. I think I know what to do. Chapter 573, What is your essence? Please, do explain, Iwara pressed Sofia. We were tricked from the beginning. First you, then me. Tricked by the rules into not thinking like real apostles of sorrow. The rules. Iwara put a hand over his face, thinking deeply. For 20 seconds, Sofia watched Iwara think with a widening grin. She was certain he would come to the same conclusion as she did. Finally he seemed to realize something. He gasped. There was no need for a helper to begin with, he said, that is right, this is possible for any child of sorrow to triumph over alone. All with a single spell. Sofia nodded happily. The most basic of them all, she said approvingly. If you can only choose one, Iwara continued. And if you happen to choose wrong, Sofia replied, moving a step closer to the flying shrouds. Then there is a very simple solution. I cannot believe that I got so blatantly blindsided. That's right. All you need to do, Sofia grabbed the closest shroud. It fell limply off from her hand and to the floor. That was not the artifact. Is to show a little regret. The other two shrouds shot from their trajectory and disappeared under the sarcophagus lid. She had lost. Time magic doesn't exist. Regret, alter the past to make a different decision in the previous 5 seconds, costs 10,000 mana per cast, 10 seconds cooldown. Left leg blood vessels must be undamaged for the skill to correctly resolve. But what if it kinda does? Sofia disappeared from where she stood. She reappeared next to Iwara. By all means, this was no time magic, after all, Iwara perfectly remembered everything that had just happened, but, at this instant, there were 3 shrouds flying in circle around the sarcophagus. Did I pick wrong? Sofia asked with a giggle. Why, sister in sorrows, you must be mistaken, Iwara answered, stopping to unleash a maniacal laughter. Our God be my witness, you clearly haven't picked yet. Sofia was counting the seconds. She let an extra 10 flow by, just to be extra sure, useless that it was. Then she stepped forward again, and picked a shroud. 50-50. The world disappeared. Instantly, everything had turned grey. Sofia's vision gradually expanded. A grey cathedral? A veiled woman was sitting on the altar, her back facing Sofia. Slowly she turned her head around, it was hard to see her face behind the veil, but Sofia felt like she saw a bright smile. Use it well, my daughter. Like struck by lightning, Sofia was brought back to reality. The shroud she had picked flew out of her grasp, and, like a regal cape, folded and draped itself over her shoulders. Magnificent! Sofia turned around, her smile as bright as a demon's could be. Magnificent indeed! Now there is only one thing left to do, Iwara said first, excitedly dashing to the exit. Sofia followed. They made their way to the hole as fast as possible, and both started jumping up. Sofia soon stopped, Iwara stopped too. We're high enough, he said. Identify. Shroud of Akana, burial garment of Akana, he who welcomed death. My time has come. Cherish yours. Effects. No time for regrets, the cooldown of regret is reduced to 2 seconds and its scope to 1 second. You can now use regret while in numb sorrow's form. I win, you lose, you can no longer cast misfortune. Its effects are strengthened, and replace your demonic aura. Always active, no upkeep cost. Keepsake of sorrows, this item will take your name upon your death. Restrictions, Children's of Sorrow only. Part of a 2-piece set with the Wheel of Progress. Full set effect, inactive, karmic loop, your aura's strength and area of effect are greatly increased. Keepsake of Sorrows, Sofia whispered, running a clawed finger along the edge of the shroud. I'm sorry, mother, Sofia said, marking a dramatic pause, this effect will never be of any use again. Iwara silently read the description, he was speechless. Are you second-guessing your decision to let me have it? Sofia jokingly asked. Certainly not, it is simply. It feels like one of my life goals has been accomplished. A strange sentiment, truly, one I hadn't felt in a long time. Glad I could help. I think that's what I felt when I finally found Saria. I don't really have any goal like that now, though. Perhaps it is my turn to help you, in that case. Iwara suggested. You got me this divine item, isn't that helping plenty already? Besides, you have another woman you should take care of first, don't you think? Fair points both. If your issue is only to find a purpose, however, was your plan not to get stronger and deal with scripture? Those are almost 2 separate plans. I still want to aim for a perfect completion of every system trial. And the asshole god will have its turn for sure. But these goals feel a bit shallow? Maybe shallow isn't the right word. More like, I want to do it, but it's not. I'm missing a greater purpose, I feel like. One could argue defeating a god is a great purpose already, but if that still feels shallow to you, Iwara suddenly stopped his sentence, looking straight down at the bottom of the hole. Something wrong? Sofia asked, looking down in turn, seeing nothing strange. I could swear I saw a person with long white hair down there, Iwara said in a hushed tone, when I really looked there was nothing. Perhaps the overwhelming emotions are playing with my senses. Long white hair, you say? Are you sure? It was but a fleeting sight, Iwara said. You might have seen right. I can't explain, but that alone should tell you everything you need to know. I'm going down to check, you go back up and let the others know we got the shroud, Sofia ordered. Are you certain you know what you're doing? Iwara asked. No doubt. If anything happens to me, Parith and Bookie will know what to do to come find me. But chances are I'll be back soon, Sofia continued before letting herself fall back down. Soon she was alone in the room at the bottom of the hole again. She looked through the door to the walled-up cavern of the upper stratum. One of the walls now featured a hole, as if something had broken through, and just as Sofia noticed this, she saw trailing white hair disappearing beyond the wall. That's him. Sofia tried to dash after him, but a sudden violent cramp forced her to stay in place, barely managing not to fall face first to the ground. Crap! I descended too fast. I couldn't properly readapt to the mana concentration. Using any spell in that state could be dangerous, so Sofia just waited for a bit to let the pain pass and to let herself get used to the environment again. When she was ready, she walked up to the broken wall. The hole opened up to a long natural cavernous tunnel with a few stray rocks and not much else. A soft voice came out of nowhere, murmuring in Sofia's ears, "So you want a greater purpose, Saintess?" Sofia wanted to turn around, but she couldn't. She managed to squeeze out one word, "Orator." "Have you guessed why time needed to die? This lord supposes not. Nevertheless, you already have a calling." I do. Yes. Great things are coming. You fancied yourself our Saintess, did you not? When the time comes, you can be our voice, if you are ready. How? You need the essence and the knowledge both, false lord. My quest shall be your blessing's crowning achievement. Yet you miss the mandate from one of us still. The time is right. Try it again now, the name. Sofia could move again. She turned around, and of course there was no one here. Try the name again. Really? Sofia asked the orator, "You were the one warning me against it." There was no answer. The orator had left. And right now? Saintess of the Deep. Sofia looked back at the door, thinking about the others who were likely to be all waiting for her. Afinareth, if I should stop, now is the time to warn me. There was no answer again. She sighed. I always knew it, but my curiosity is going to be the end of me. Parith, Bookie. I'm going to do something really dumb. For your safety, don't come. Just trust me. I will be back soon. Probably. I love you. She took a deep breath, an intoxicating quantity of mana rushing inside her. She felt Parith and Bookie urgently teleporting to her, cutting through the fabric of space, but they were too late to stop her. The word was already leaving her mouth. Idrazaketh. It was like something in the world broke. After pronouncing a simple word, Sofia Afinareth ceased to exist. The echo of her voice bounced around the cave walls. Parith and Bookie were left behind in the dark cave. The skeletons only needed to share one look. Bookie extended a hand, Parith grabbed it. Bookie clutched hard on Parith's hand, but he did not hesitate for even a second. Idrazaketh. There was thus only darkness and silence to be found in the cave. Chapter 574, A Saintess Stands. Error. Connection lost. Sofia opened her eyes in the middle of nowhere. She was standing on nothing, perhaps falling, and everything was pitch black, but she could move, her senses were all there. Until another figure appeared from the nothingness, and suddenly Sofia was stuck in place, having a hard time to even think. Sitting cross-legged about 20 meters in front of Sofia, was a demon-like figure, with 7 arms and a mind-boggling physique. Sofia, in this moment, understood what had felt so wrong about the Annihilator's statue in the second trial. The rune on his forehead could not possibly be sculpted in a way that made sense. It was, much like Afinareth's rune, constantly warping and shifting, and it seemed to warp reality around it in unison. Idrazaketh opened his eyes. Fully black eyes reflected the emptiness of the void. The Lord raised one of his 7 hands. Sofia was instantly overcome by soul-crushing pain. Untold energies bashed against her soul, like trying to rip it to shreds, to reduce it down to its smallest components. Sofia's soul shook like the flame of a candle in a storm, but it wasn't extinguished. It could not be. You were subjected to a soul-extinguishing attack, but you were protected. The mark of Afinareth could not punish the attacker. Sofia barely managed to remain conscious, and her sanity was soon tested. The Lord raised a second hand. The unlife runes broke all at once, and Sofia's mana vanished. Health, 822 762/822 762. Stamina, 204 336/204 336. Mana, 0/0. She could feel a void spread in her. She knew she should have died then and there. But she would not so easily disappear from a lack of energy, heat death would not let it happen. Her mana started going into the negative. Mana, -100/0. Mana, -1000/0. Mana, -10,000/0. She felt herself disappearing, her very existence eating itself from the inside. Heat death fought back, but it alone could not stop the infinite drain threatening Sofia's existence. As she held on, something in her came back to life from the void growing in her. It was a spark, an infinite loop of energy, the ultimate tier mana heart, the infinity engine. The mana stopped going further down in the negative. Slowly, it rose again. The Lord raised a third hand. Sofia disappeared. A black-laced glove was all that remained. Since the glove existed, then Sofia must have existed too. She had not disappeared. Still standing, facing the Lord, she braced herself for what was to come next. In her mind she desperately called the names of the other lords for help, in vain. As she struggled to stay sane, her mana finally reached 0 again, and slowly, it crawled up into the positive. Mana, 1/0. The Lord raised a fourth hand. Now it was the empty void around Sofia itself that sought her end. Her place in reality had been revoked, she was to return to eternal darkness. She refused. The very fabric of her being was like a permanent stain, a bundle of light encroached in reality so strongly that one could not possibly get rid of the other. The power of the Edgewalker. Incomprehensibly for both Sofia and the entity she was facing, she still stood. The Lord raised a fifth hand. There was no visible sign or warning, Sofia's health just dropped to 0. What little mana she had fought back for her. This was not an acceptable end. The venerable physique of the primeval void only allowed for 99% of her health to be taken away in a single it, that had always held true. As her Lumion demon body cracked and its light spilled everywhere, illuminating the dark void, her health snapped back up from 0. Health, 8228/822,762. Was this really happening? Could Sofia truly survive the continued assault of a lord in the flesh? Her thoughts cleared up a little. In the midst of despair, she saw a glimpse of hope, only 2 hands left. The Lord raised a sixth hand. Starting from her left hand, Sofia's body started to vanish, as if vaporized in thin air, and the little health she had left quickly ticked away. The vanishing was quickly progressing through her arm, it would soon reach her shoulder. Sofia struggled. She had never been able to move if a lord wished her not to, they all had that power to make her stop. She tried everything she could think of, and to her delight, something still worked. Something that broke all the rules of what seemed logical, as it worked without condition, always, bone dominus. Sofia's spine reshaped a part of itself into a skeletal hand and grabbed Anna's dagger from the hole in her chest, undoing its bone sheath. In 2 clean internal strikes, Sofia freed herself from her left shoulder and arm, which fell silently into the void below. Sofia internally rejoiced, but to her horror, the vanishing started again from her right hand. She lost 1 more health point, before gaining it back. The vanishing stopped. The other 3 lords did not answer Sofia's prayers, yet some bit of their powers were still hers to wield. Singularity Edict had dismissed the vanishing. Only 1 left. In Sofia's ears, the amused voice of the orator whispered a few words, whomst could have predicted that the Grand Annihilator would unleash this particular sequence of attacks. This Saintess is so fortunate. Or could that be a sleeping lord's misfortune? The voice disappeared with an ethereal cackle that faded in the distance. The Lord raised his 7th hand. His 7 arms abruptly moved to form a perfect circle, a gate made of his own limbs. It came with a low rumble, a tsunami of mana, a torrent of pure magical energy in untold amounts. It was as though the entirety of the world's mana converged here in this place. Mana filled the entire void, every nook and cranny. Sofia's body and soul were rocked by the current, her pillar of creation racial trait was the only thing preventing her from being washed away to the confines of this strange space. But that only bought her some time, a few seconds at most. The quantity of mana was too high, astronomical. It was killing her rapidly, the simple contact of so much energy too much for her dilapidated shell to handle. She focused all her will on one last move as her health plummeted. Fight fire with fire. Ringed arms of Tsar, collapse. Time seemed to freeze for a second. Like an imploding star, all the mana collapsed into the ring representing Idrazaketha's arms. It was a valiant attempt. To Sofia's credit, this last stunt had managed to stop the Lord's final attack. But in her critical state, could she survive this torrent of mana rushing back through her to reach the ring? She could not. Health, -814 772/822 762. Only an effigy of light remained of what was once Sofia Afinareth, her soul-bound items shattered, and as to what happened to Perith and Bookie? Perhaps no one would ever know. Silence reigned once more in the Annihilator's void. The Lord blinked, his black eyes lighting up in a myriad of glimmering colors. He noticed Sofia's remains, slightly tilting his head. Finally he slowly stood up, crossing his arms in his back. He walked up to the light effigy without any urgency, a perfectly neutral expression on his face. "Ivravth," he said, as if instantly understanding the entire situation. Crouching down, he picked up the things that remained, a dagger, a black glove, a small bell, and lastly, a shining ring of pure mana. "Gluttony," the Lord said, observing the ring. "Nostalgic. This one is much favored." His eyes shone as he noticed the reason for this favoritism. "Marked. Have the pickings begun?" Idrazaketh raised a single finger. The effigy of light turned into an unconscious tall woman with hair made of light and shining horns. Broken items forged themselves back from nothingness, covering her naked body. A crown, a scepter, a shroud, an armguard, several rings, all recovered in the blink of an eye. Post-human? Error. Unauthorized memory scan detected. Error. Save your energy, scribe. You cannot stop me. Admin action override, error dismissed. Idrazaketh's eyes shone stronger. Interesting. So Anna has given up. As I thought, it was too heavy a task for a scion to bear. But the system is still running. We need an administrator. The light of Idrazaketh's eyes weakened. He thrust an arm into the nothingness of the void beside him. Making a grabbing motion, he pulled something invisible to him, leaving a gaping hole in space in the wake of his action. He waved a finger, and the black lace glove flew to Sofia's right hand. He then grabbed her wrist and thrust it toward the emptiness he had pulled out of nowhere. With a sound like that of breaking glass, a gigantic battered and bruised dragon appeared, its head hanging down as if it were dead. Idrazaketh waved a finger and the dragon was completely healed, though still unconscious. "This one shall do." The Lord's attention fell back to Sofia. "Take this quest, scribe. There is much to do." Chapter 575, The Bigger Glutton. Sofia and the dragon disappeared from the void, and a lifeless skeleton holding a rotting bone book appeared in their place. "Commendable foolishness," the Lord said to the lifeless pile of bones. He waved a finger, Bookie was restored to his pristine original book form and Peritha's dead mana heart surged with mana once again. The skeletons disappeared. "I have not found an answer." Sofia awoke gasping for air. She immediately recognized where she was, the small room under the lake staircase with the hole leading to the upper stratum. Perith and Bookie were both sitting against the wall just like she was, sleeping. Sleeping? Have they ever slept? Sofia put her hand on the commander jacket and lightly shook Peritha's shoulder. His eye sockets instantly lit up with holy light, and he looked around, seemingly confused. "Don't ask me, I don't know either," Sofia told him, turning around to wake up Bookie in a similar fashion, but it seemed the noise had roused him awake, and he stretched his bone limbs with a yawn. "Sofia," he asked, "how did he started?" Before stopping and jumping upright, he turned to face Sofia and pointed at her with an index finger, his jaw opened and closed, his finger trembling. Sofia could tell he was conflicted about what to say, but he certainly looked more than a bit mad. Sofia sighed, but she was smiling. Before Bookie could react, she grabbed him and forced him into a big hug, pressing his skull against her chest. "Here, here." Bookie could shed no tears but he cried anyway, mumbling incoherent things about Sofia abandoning him and Perith. "I understand. I understand. You said the name too, didn't you? How else would they have ended up like this? It's all right, it's all over now. I'm sorry for going without you. I won't ever do it again, all right?" Sofia told Bookie while caressing his skull. She also looked at Perith as she said that. Bookie kept sobbing in Sofia's arms, and Perith just silently nodded, but he did so holding prolonged eye contact with Sofia, in a way that was more intense than he normally ever did. Sofia was embarrassed. She had to admit, in retrospect, that it was stupid to go without them. Even if she wanted to protect them, they would have tried to follow anyway, so being together would have likely been preferable. That being said, she started to remember the details of what had happened to her, and it was perplexing, because, as far as she could tell, she had died. A real death, for the first and normally final time, the type you don't just wake up from thanks to some magic rune. I didn't dream all that up, did I? Someone who had been really silent until now chose this opportunity to make his presence known. Congratulations! You have received a quest. Is this Idrazaketh's approval? Task: prove your worth as a marked one. Option 1, exterminate the Phagiad during their next attack. Option 2, prime gluttony before level 350. Option 3, survive for 1 year straight while branded with a Lord's simplified rune. Option 4, deal with Emperor Ivadosepto or help negotiate a peace treaty with him. Option 5, kill an ascended before ascending. Reward: Essence of Idrazaketh. Quest cannot be rejected. Quest accepted. Aha! Not a dream, then. Was I resurrected? A marked one. Does that mean Shaili will have to do something like that as well? I should tell her. These options though. Exterminating the Phagiad. Everyone including Richard, son, and Grandma Oredes is worried about them, how could I possibly? If all the other tasks are as hard as this one. I have no idea what gluttony even is, but that might be the easiest option since I should be able to do it after the next filter. Option 3 feels like a trap, no matter how I look at it, some crazy shit will happen the second I draw one of those simplified runes of my skin, will it not? I know Afinareth and Idrazaketh's so I can try both. Maybe I'll do that after leveling up. Never heard of Ivadosepto, but this task might be doable. Depending on who exactly that is and what the peace treaty is about. Negotiations aren't exactly my strong suit though. And the last one is just killing a level 500 before reaching 500, isn't that right? Yeah, this one is just impossible, I'm pretty sure. The gap between filters is becoming too big. The Fortune Dwarf was bad enough to fail his level 350 trial, which means he probably wasn't that strong for his level, and I still struggled with a 1 filter difference despite being the highest achiever ever for the previous 2 trials. At this rate I won't be able to beat even the weakest level 351 when I'm level 300. It's different if it's a monster, but even then. As Sofia's thoughts stilled for a second, foreign images started flooding her mind. From a very low viewpoint, she saw the distorted and blurry image of Idrazaketh standing up and slowly walking toward her. What in the name of all that is sane? In the corner of her field of view, she could see herself. Or rather, what was left of her, just an effigy of eternal light. How can I see this? Idrazaketh came and picked up a few things, including the one Sofia was currently seeing the point of view of, which is when she understood. The dagger? I'm seeing the dagger's memories. Gluttony. Sofia heard the Lord say in the recording with an extremely distorted voice as he observed the ring. Nostalgic. Is that my ring? Sofia got an urge to take off her dragon scale armguard to check the ring right away, but she also couldn't peel her eyes off from the blurry memories being superimposed on her vision. This one is much favored. The Annihilator continued. It feels like I'm seeing something I really shouldn't be allowed to. Marked. Have the pickings begun? The pickings. So Shaili being marked too. I really need to share this with her. What are we being picked for? Sofia then watched Idrazaketh resurrect her and effortlessly restore all of her things. Is there anything a lord cannot do? Mr. Scribe tried to stop him from doing something, but that was a lost cause. A Scion? Holy shit, what? Is that the dragon admin? Take this quest, Scribe. There is much to do. The recording ended there. Just as this was over, her system log opened by itself, showing her a few messages that added some context. He was reading our memory. What is it that a marked one is marked for? I have to find out. Is that related to the last function of the mark that the system couldn't decipher? Sofia then exchanged a few words with Mr. Scribe, who expressed that this was all he knew, and that the dagger had sent this recording to him by itself and without any explanation, as he was writing a script of what he remembered to show Sofia. After that, she took her time to relay the entire situation to Parith and Bookie. I want to see gluttony, was Bookie's immediate reaction to the end of the story. Right, I want to see too, Sofia agreed, starting to take off her armguard. She found the ring on her finger, where the ring of Tsar normally was, it was now like a small loop of semi-solid mana more than anything else. It had a weak whitish blue glow, and felt just like a regular ring. It changed from absorbing all that mana at once, it seems. Can we identify that? It took Mr. Scribe a few seconds to come with results. Gluttony, a ring from the lost epoch, given to mortals by the Annihilator. Its purpose was to give mortals a way to get rid of the tainted remains of dead gods corrupting the land. It had regressed to a weaker form due to a lack of use. Must be primed to unlock advanced functions, 0/5 divine remains absorbed. Basic functions. Absorb the remains of dead gods. Grants high resistance to the influence of tainted remains to the wearer and nearby allies. Sometimes gives its wearer the location of tainted remains it yearns to devour. Advanced function, requires priming. Allows the wearer to freely travel to and from the divine realms. For each divine remains contained within, any damage you inflict on any target plus 10%. Restriction, cannot be worn by gods. Are we going to try priming it? Bookie asked after reading the description. Maybe. I was not even aware that dead gods left anything behind. At that moment, Sofia felt a mental pull from the ring. For the second time that day, foreign images flooded her mind. She was given a location, first from extremely far away in space, showing her the entire planet and its surroundings, then progressively getting closer image by image, ending on an image of a fallen statue blocking closed doors. After committing the information to memory, Sofia looked at her options to complete Idrazaketha's quest again. Priming the ring was something she was going to want to do anyway, considering the advanced functions, so she might as well do two things at once. Well then. After we level up. Let's go hunt some dead gods. Hunt dead gods? Bookie repeated, throwing his hands up. But Sofia, how do we level up? If the dragon admin is back, can't he fix our levels? I think he's probably a bit busy with other things. Life is probably on his back to try to save Anna already. We're really not the priority. And honestly, at this point I might as well just use Mr. Scribe's method. He worked very hard on it and it's supposed to be better than regular leveling as well. He just needs to rework it a bit now that the ring no longer absorbs mana. Anyway, let's get up those stairs, the others must be waiting for us. And let's maybe not mention this whole thing to anyone for now, alright. Chapter 576, Speed Dating? Yes. That was the correct solution, Vilania explained, sipping on a hot drink. You can only get the shroud using regret, actually. If you get to the final 3 it's designed so that the first one you pick is always wrong. Ooh, that's nasty. Who designed that? Everell asked. Like almost everything else, it's all Romuald. All I really did was make the things. Right, who made the artifact? Sofia asked, looking at the shroud still wrapped around her shoulders. We are not sure. Auntie wouldn't tell us, but it was already there when. It was there. Vilania's eyes clouded over slightly as her voice died down. Shit, is she about to pass out again? Alright, Vilania, I had another question for you. Don't you want to leave now that I have the shroud? You don't have to stay trapped here, Sofia said, coming up with a distraction on the spot. That question seemed to surprise Vilania. I'll leave? And no, I can't leave. You still have the other trials here to get through later. Right. What about after I clear them all, then? I'll think about it, she mumbled after some consideration, blushing for no apparent reason, but that means you have to be the one who gets the wheel and allow Auntie to come back. That was always the plan. It's going to take a while though, I don't feel strong enough to barge into fairy territory quite yet. You should be at least as strong as me first, Vilania confirmed. Yeah, definitely going to take a while. A few days later, after Sofia helped bring everyone back to the other side of the world by going into Zangdar and having Alith bring them out with her ring, Sofia was alone with Bookie and Perith, doing some shopping in the streets of Huoaso. The peculiar trio drew a lot of attention from the people, but nobody dared say anything to the weird tall lady with hair of light covered in gold and magical artifacts and her 2 skeletons dressed like noblemen. Vesperia is great but nothing can beat the choice they have here on the human continent, Sofia commented as she looked through a monster parts shop that sold many rare things including a prohibitively expensive dragon claw shard. What if we don't find the ingredients here? Bookie questioned, holding Sofia's hand. Well, there's always Richard's red carpet. And if that fails we can take a quick trip to Exidia, but it shouldn't be that hard to get a few rare herbs and reagents. Maybe. At least Alith already had most of them. I still don't get how the potion will help, Bookie admitted, which made Sofia giggle. No need to worry about it, if the Demon King says it's going to help then it probably will, don't you think? He could have at least sent an explanation with the recipe. Bookie complained. I am just happy that he accepted to help at all, honestly. Hopefully I'll finally be able to use that racial skill. It's just there, in my status, taunting me. Ah. I don't see anything that we need in this shop, let's get a move on. There you go. Carlson proudly said, tapping on the large mithril cube Sofia had ordered a few days prior, leaving him with a pile of ingots worth a fortune. Gotta say, never worked with that much mithril at once, a bit sad that you wanted a box and not a weapon. I need it for my new leveling technique, but I'll probably make something else out of the mithril when I'm done. Don't need a weapon though, my staff is still perfect. It sure looks decent. Wait. Is that a diamond? The rabbit beastman asked with bulging eyes. He had. Here, take a handful, I make them myself, Sofia told Carlson, handing him a small pile of tiny rough diamonds. Wait, I should pay for this. Just think of it as a present from a friend, Sofia said with a wink, right, how's Karin doing? Ah. Same as always, nose in her accounting books, I'm sure she'll be overjoyed if you swing by the palace to say hi. After you fix her memory. Yet. I need to go to the Adventurers Guild too, at least to see Cooley and Dryan, maybe Michael if he's there. Speaking of which, are Topaz and Opal around? You know the Imperial twins. Oh wait, no, yet, I heard about that I think, something about you being a teacher? It's a bit messy to link things together since this was discussed after everyone aside from Zeros forgot about you. They should still be in the Empire, but they might be at their summer home in the south, though, Carlson explained, they've been wanting to go train in a dungeon around there for a while now. I'll go see Zeros first to ask him, I guess. Plenty of people to catch up with and fix the memory of. Well, I'll take this and go, thanks for working so fast, Carl. Don't mention it, drinking buddies gotta have each other's back. We should have another party night one of these days, you look like you've got plenty of stories to tell. Starting with your becoming a beastkin yourself. The race is Lumion I told you, Sofia corrected him, jokingly rolling her eyes. Hey, listen, I told you the other day, if you've got horns. A masked god appeared in the middle of a swamp, his long legs knee-deep in the mud. Seriously? Did they give me the wrong location? Is this a skeleton out there? The god appeared next to the tall three-headed skeleton who was using some sort of measurement tool. Hey, big lad, I'm looking for a girl. Demon, shiny horns, scary grin, you wouldn't happen to have seen her around. The skeleton pointed south, where Speed could only see a black cloud writhing over the swamp. Are those fucking mosquitoes? Disgusting. Well, thanks for the pointer. Speed disappeared. A tall girl was in the middle of the swarm of giant mosquitoes, she was not attacking them, just avoiding their continuous attacks. Oh hey, training your speed? Smart, the god commented, I'm looking for a demon, she got the same horns as oh. Damn, girl, you look different than I remembered. Sofia summoned a sword of bones in her hand, she swung it once, and the entire giant mosquito swarm was caught in a series of silent luminous explosions. When the light died down, there were only charred corpses left sinking in the mud. Hi, Speed. Sofia answered, reflexively wiping non-existent sweat from her forehead, yet I do look a bit different when not in demon form. I hope finding me wasn't too difficult. Well, T was easier than the first time, for sure. You know my rates. Tiny stone for a non-priority letter, got that right? Sofia asked. Yep, you can expect delivery almost anywhere on the surface in under a week, and the recipient can send an answer letter for free, Speed specified. Honestly, it's a lot cheaper than I expected. Well, a tiny stone ain't exactly cheap to begin with, for most people, level 300 plus folks don't croak every day. But also I can't make the service too expensive or I won't have any business. Why does a god need money to begin with? Same as you, I wanna buy shit, he answered with a shrug. Alright, well, here's the stone, harvested that one myself, Sofia explained, giving Speed the fortune dwarf's mana heart as well as a sealed letter. Seems legit, Speed analyzed, fiddling with the stone, who's the letter for, answer to the big D. For Morning Star, Sun's Saintess. But it is also fine if you give it to Sun or her oracle. Hey, probably just a trip to Herzl, then. Easy enough. And I heard you had some other odd job for me also. Yes. It might be a bit of a strange request, but... Could you show me to the place where the previous Speed died? The question took Speed aback, and here I thought I might have landed myself a date. He joked, the old one died in his domain, so... That's my home now, basically, kinda. Why would you want to go there, even? Well... It's complicated, but to make it simple, I have an urgent need to gather the remains of dead divinities. Speed was left speechless. He turned around, looking at the three-headed skeleton still measuring things in the distance, then back at Sofia. Necromancers, man. How much do you pay? He finally said with a sigh. Sofia had to pause for a second. She really did not have many things in her possessions that could be of interest to a god and that she would be agreeable to trade. How about a date? She finally tried without thinking. Hey? That's I mean, Speed scratched his head, deep in thought, like. He stopped and looked Sofia up and down, not even trying to hide it. Sure? Yeah, alright. Let's do that, he finally agreed. What am I getting myself into? He mumbled from behind his mask. Chapter 577, Size Matters. About half an hour after Speed left, Saria fell from the sky and landed in the middle of the swamp like a cannonball. Hello everyone. She looked around, seeing Sofia currently sculpting large bone blocks, and Perith a bit further away busy collecting swamp plants into pots. Wait. It's just you two. Who else? Alith will come with Remia a bit later, and Bookie should be back. Probably soon. You sent him to a dungeon alone or something? Saria asked. No, I just need a lot of red sand for my new leveling technique. He's gone to fetch it. He's traveling on the skeleton chimera we got from the last trial. That thing is absurdly fast. Alright. So. You're really not going to tell anyone else about the admin? Well, Alith and Shaili already know. And I am willing to bet that the high levels also know. It's not like it's going to change much in the short term anyway. I'll try to see if I can get him a message later. I figure he might want some help to unerase some of his things. I worry that he might want to take Anna's dagger back, though, and I cannot really afford to lose it. Yeah, to be honest, we can't know what this guy might think or be like. Doesn't hurt to be cautious. But well, if he wants the key back, there's probably not much you can do to prevent him from taking it. And on another note. What the hell are you trying to do in this swamp? Oh, nothing much, just starting a city here. I got permission from the Emperor. Saria was speechless. A city? Hey, I went through all that trouble to find those damn rings and you're going to build a place in the overworld. You found both rings? Of course I fucking did. Saria answered, showing her right hand wearing two Midanisit rings. Well. Zangdar will still be my main home and base of operations. Even though it's more like Alith's lab at the moment, it's just that with the limited number of rings, we can't really have too many people living there. And I'd like to keep it a private and safe space for people we can trust. But also it'd be nice to have a less void-wide place to return to and rest sometimes. If we can have artisans and such move here, it would be even better. Saria took a second to look around and take it all in. Yeah, sure, but why not just buy a place in Vasperia though? And why a swamp? It won't be a swamp for very long. I'm just holding back with the heavy land forming until Perith collects enough plant samples. We've found a good location in the swamp. It'll be great for a small city, just a bit further south. We have a river, easy access to the sea and the spirit forest. It's going to be nice. As for why here in particular, it was free. And I want to go crazy with bone architecture, so buying in an already existing city isn't exactly the best choice. You're not worried nobody will want to live in a city made of bones? It might take people a while to get used to it, but it's also extremely durable and free. I can make anyone's dream house in a matter of minutes at this point if I've got the bones ready, and I do. I just need to find someone to manage the city for me. It shouldn't be too hard. Saria seemed dubious, and she kept peppering Sofia with 1,000 questions about the supposed Bone City's logistics for the next hour until Bookie arrived on skeleton back, carrying 2 huge leather pouches filled to the brim with red sand. He barely had time to unload and say hi to Saria that Alith appeared out of nowhere carrying a sleeping dryad. Hey. I'm done. She proudly announced, offloading Remia into Paritha's arms. Oh hey Sar, long time no see. Want some candies? Maybe step out of the mud first? You're sinking, Sofia commented. Oh shit. Alith pulled her mithril boots out of the muck and jumped onto Sofia's bone platform everyone else but Parith was using. How is he not sinking? She then asked, pointing at said skeleton. He has passive levitation on his armor through his signature skill right now, Sofia explained. So, the stat candies are done. Yep, all done, health, speed, strength, agility, 100,000 stat points each, got them all. These were a lot tougher to reproduce than the 2 previous tiers. Also it is quite literally magical poison before being a strengthening drug, you want to brace yourself before you eat those, Alith explained with a proud look. How many do you think we can each take? Saria asked. I might just be able to buy enough aura to start making real use of it with that many boss points. After the first 4, I was able to eat 5 more, basically, but I'm quite resistant to most magical plants by now, so I got to eat more. I'd say an average person our level would probably have to stop at 2. Mr. Scribe, is it an issue for the leveling if I eat those right now? Sofia silently asked her scribe, and one of Sofia's system documents opened by itself. It was one of multiple pre-written documents containing only one word, no. Sofia had made them to allow Mr. Scribe to easily communicate without having to take control and actually write things. No issue? Nice. Now how do I do that? I definitely want at least 2 health to get it to 1,000,000. After that. All strength? The Olympian title equalizes my stamina substats anyway. While Parith and Bookie were walking around the swamp with Remia, Alith's stat candies were devoured by the 2 sisters. Sofia ate 2 health candies, bringing it to slightly over 1,000,000, and 5 strength candies. After that, she started to feel a bit like that time she had smelled the Leviathan tear, so she decisively knew to stop right then and there. Meanwhile Saria was being a monster as usual, and crushed even Alith's record, eating a total of 12 candies before she started to feel ill. It's really weird, your body is storing the excess energy I think, Alith told Saria as she was examining her skin which was turning slightly blue. You should probably spend it fast before it becomes a problem. It never did this before. But well, I can spend it. I'm buying all the aura upgrades I can. How many is that? Sofia asked. 2, a small and a medium. I could only afford tiny ones until now, so that's progress. Sofia stared at her stats as she chatted. Health, 1022 762/1022 762. Stamina, 370 242/371 Mana, 2054 899/5022 238. Too bad we cannot see the substats. Almost doubled my stamina though, I feel a lot stronger. Why do I have this sudden urge to punch something? Sofia. Saria called out for the second time. Ah, sorry, I was. Are you daydreaming about a man? Saria joked. Much better, I was admiring my status sheet. I guess I do have a date with a man planned for next week though, Sofia admitted with a shrug. No way. Sofia? You? On a date? Who are you and what have you done to my sister? Parith doesn't count, Sof. Hey. It's not like that. I just didn't know what else to offer the guy so. Saria narrowed her eyes. Hoi, sister, is this how I educated you? I thought you had a little bit more self-respect. Is he hot at least? Taller than you? Strong charisma? Level 2 gajillions? Dragon ancestors? Super rich? Alith asked with curiosity. He's not bad looking, I think. But, it's not that serious. We are really just going to eat dinner and get straight to business after that. There was an awkward silence. Sofia, Saria said, I know this isn't what you meant but... You should really be more careful about your phrasing. Sofia stuttered. After being silent like a dead fish for a few seconds, she tried to change the subject. Does anyone want to help me set up my leveling station? I finally have everything ready. Sofia, Saria sighed. Seriously, who is it, though? I'm reserving the right to reject people from Zangdar if I don't like them. Alith continued to press Sofia for answers. What she said. Doppel agreed in a rare comment on something that wasn't a shirt or armor. Sofia rolled her eyes, it's really not that serious. I swear, there's nothing going on. Alith walked closer to Sofia. She had to look up to maintain eye contact, so she really wasn't as intimidating as she tried to be, but she tried anyway. Answers. We request a name. Sofia tried to look in Saria's direction for help, but Saria seemed to be waiting for her answer as well. I should have kept my mouth shut, Sofia said with a sigh. True, Alith confirmed with a hearty laugh. What else did you think was going to happen? Of course we want to know more, moron. What do you have to be ashamed about anyway? We were each other's first kiss, so the bar for our relationships is so low it's not even funny. What are you waiting for to go find someone if that's how you think? Saria asked Alith from the side, already aware of the maiden's kiss shenanigans. Alith put a hand over her own head, and moved it horizontally to reach Sofia's body, landing right under her chest. That's why. And before you ask, no, I'm not interested in dating a dwarf. Chapter 578, The Box of Wonders. Alright, I'm going in, Sofia told Bookie and Parath. Make sure that the Middenicid slab is slotted correctly and bury it all well. You can trust Engineer Skeleton. Bookie proudly answered, and we won't let anyone come close. I'm in safe hands then. See you in a bit, Sofia finished, jumping into the mithril box at the bottom of the pit. She pulled on the interior handle to close the mithril box and sat down in the center. She had to change for a cubic box rather than the initial plan for a coffin-like box, not only because it would be more comfortable, but also because the final step of using the Ring of Zar for mana reforging was to be replaced by a much more involved process which required some space to move around. Buying enough mithril to make the box to the required specifics was something else. She couldn't afford it even with her reserves unless she started to sell some precious things she owned, but she had managed, taking a no-interest loan from Richard's Red Carpet as a VIP client. Sofia looked through Parath's eyes, watching the engineer slowly lowering a large and thick Middenicid slab on top of the mithril box, which was already itself sitting in a larger Middenicid box, which was more than halfway buried inside of red sand. The slab finished to seal the Middenicid box, and Sofia completely lost the connection, her vision snapping back to the interior of her box. The soul link is still intact, but mithril and Middenicid together is too much for the mana to pass through. The red sand might not even be needed at this point, even if it's to prevent outside interference. The skeletons got to work quickly filling the entire pit with the remaining red sand, and finally, Sofia's leveling cube was ready. Sofia took off her clothes and stored everything in her eye. She had left most of her things outside in Parath's care. Now the only thing she was still wearing was her black glove, and she had the admin dagger along with a small handwritten booklet on her lap. She shivered as her bare skin touched the mithril. Why is this stuff so cold? She complained, changing her sitting position so that less skin touched the metal. After taking a deep breath, she exhaled and slowly expelled almost all of her mana, leaving her with just enough that she wouldn't feel too dizzy. Now to keep filling that space with mana until it starts to kill me. This feels really weird to be doing with a rune on. Flooding the cube with mana was long and boring. Sofia just had to wait, expel her mana, and do it again. She was so bored that she started meditating and lost count of how many times she had to repeat the process, only realizing that she was getting there when she had a severe coughing fit out of nowhere. For someone with cosmetic lungs that mostly served to activate her vocal cords, starting to cough uncontrollably was a pretty good sign that something was wrong. When she managed to stop coughing, Sofia more precisely felt how bad the situation was. The mana in the cube was even more concentrated than it had been in the upper stratum, and it warped the air so much that it felt like she was underwater. Sofia watched her health meter. It was going up and down, the environment actively harming her while the Bone Dominus blessing on her own skeleton was healing her back up. That has to be enough, right? Stopping there, Sofia expelled her heart and entered her demon form. She grabbed and opened the small booklet she had brought down in the box with her. This was a guide drawn by Vilania on her own refined version of the ancient human circulation technique which had slowly gotten her to the level she was today. Vilania had warned Sofia that the technique by itself was useless without the breakthrough methods, but that is what the system trials were for. Sofia opened the booklet from the last page, and started following the method in reverse. She had already done that part once outside of the box with very little mana just to be sure that she could do it. It was easy enough, just very painful. The technique in itself was quite simple, it was just patterns in which to guide one's mana in their body that would help slowly reinforce it while also enlarging one's mana reserves. It required some concentration, but anyone could do it, as long as they were ready to invest the time. One full circulation of the entire method, as the booklet described, could take up to a month. Thankfully Sofia did not need to be so precise, and only needed to rush through the entire technique in reverse as fast as possible. If Sofia had to describe the resulting sensation, it was a bit like having crushed glass flow in her veins in reverse, an absolutely excruciating pain. But it was working. Whenever the pain was too much and Sofia felt like stopping, she was pushed to continue by the intense excitation she felt from feeling herself becoming stronger. After what seemed like an eternity, Sofia reached the start of the booklet and could finally stop. Her hands trembling, she grabbed the key, and started to wildcast the graveyard, having skeletal hands emerge from her body, grabbing her from the outside and bringing her partway into the spiritual plane. There came a small issue, in that one is always unable to see their own soul. She let Mr. Scribe take control of her mana, and he slowly used it to guide her hands to the right position. There. A fast slice, then bring your left hand to your mouth and swallow. It is going to hurt. I expected no less from soul cannibalism. When Mr. Scribe gave Sofia control of her body back, she followed the instructions. She extended her right arm, slicing with the dagger along the path Mr. Scribe had traced for her, feeling a distinct pain that was hard to describe, then, grabbing onto nothing, she trusted that she held a piece of her soul and brought it to her mouth, swallowing air. She felt a jolt like she had bitten into a super sour fruit, then nothing. The pain from the soul cut was dull in comparison to what had come before. That's it. I'm shocked the soul-eating part was the easiest. If nothing else, the Eterenians at least had a great leveling method. Hey. Sofia allowed herself some time to breathe, but she couldn't wait for too long. Now the last part. She started to cast a piercing angel bolt. Unlike usual, where her main concern was to pump as much mana into as possible, she, this time, sent it a weak and steady flow, letting the bolt slowly come to a form, becoming a thin ray of sky blue plasma in her hand. The bolt, lacking a proper energy supply, started to draw in some of the abundant ambient mana. This works. Now the rune. Since she no longer had the Ring of Zar, the next best way to achieve mana reforging, in Mr. Scribe's opinion, was this. She was to draw large runes on her body by carving them with a piercing bolt. The ambient mana would flood in and her body would fix the injury while intaking all that mana, leading it to reform in a slightly more efficient way, guided by the runic shape. Sofia was pretty numb to the bolt's energy carving into her flesh by now, so this was a lot better than it sounded, and it was over relatively quickly too, as there was really only enough mana in the box to do one rune per run. She took some time to breathe and relax, and her transformation expired. First run over, she felicitated herself, and flawlessly executed too. No change in my status sheet yet, though. What's going on there? I clearly felt myself getting stronger. I guess Mr. Scribe is a bit overworked at the moment. After some wait, finally the results were in. You gained a level. Calculating stat gain, please wait. Health, plus 62. Stamina, plus 43. Mana, plus 56-52. Hidden stats, cannot provide accurate measure. Whoa. That's a lot better than I expected. It's actually not a meaningless increase. That's like 300,000 points worth of stats for the 50 next levels. Compared to her normal system given growth rate of 20 health, 20 stamina, and 2000 mana per level, that was almost triple. Still, so much effort for 3 pills worth of stats. Not having an alchemist like Alith around to make the pills is like being crippled. That's such a huge gap. I need to get a special pill package to Shaili really soon. Sofia rested while she filled the box with mana again. When it came to seeing her stats go up, she was thoroughly addicted. Chapter 579, Watch Your Back. Sofia took a well-deserved break from her painstaking leveling process to prepare for her date with Speed. She was at a bit of a loss at first, not really knowing how she should even prepare, but thankfully Saria was there to help get her sister dressed up properly and not like a bone maniac, picking the best-looking robe and accessories out of the bunch that Sofia had accumulated in her storage until now and basically never worn. She was thus wearing a long frilly dark robe in the trendy vampire style that Astelia usually wore, along with the golden pieces of the saint set as accessories. No, I'm categorical, you can't wear the crown and the gauntlet and the cape, just keep that stuff in your storage. Sofia sighed, do you know how much of a pain it is to stuff a magic-resistant dragon scale plate in a storage ring? This would take hours. Then leave it here with me. Saria refused to budge from her position. Better yet, let Perith hold it, if you need it he'll teleport to you. Wait, Parith isn't coming. Hell no. And Bookie stays here with me too. But, Sofia stuttered, being cut off by Saria. No buts. Do you want to stay single all your life? You don't get a date with an actual god every other day, take this seriously. Saria lectured while adjusting the frills of Sofia's robe. Also, Saria, don't you think this shows too much cleavage? I feel a bit. Oh sister, you pure soul, if I were you I would be wearing even more of a low cut, men love that, show a bit of chest and they can't take their eyes off. You think I don't know that? But we are already going on a date, I would rather appear more modest, this is a bit embarrassing is what I am saying, Sofia explained. I hate to break it to you, Sofia, but there is nothing you can wear that will make your body shape appear modest. Unless you want to go on a date in full armor. And even then. I'm surprised that you even care anyway, when you have no issue walking around in the nude in your demon form, Saria commented with a shrug. It's different. Is it now? In any case, you worry too much, this is fine, I assure you. I'd even add a necklace to guide the eyes to the right place but you've already got that pearl growing in the middle there so that would be too much. Simpler is better for you anyway, you've already got a lot going on with the glowing hair and the horns and the runes. In the end Sofia gave up and let Saria do exactly as she wanted, even letting her apply some light makeup on her face, which was something that Sofia had actually never done. Speed arrived about 20 minutes later, exactly at the appointed time, dressed like a nobleman in a fancy white and red tight-fitting suit, but still wearing his mask. He looked relaxed, at first, but seeing that Sofia wasn't alone, he immediately corrected his posture, clearing his throat. Gee, good evening, ladies, he greeted them. Hey! Speed, right? It looks like you're taking this seriously also, good. Why the mask, though? Saria asked outright. Yes, pardon me, Speed apologized, before grabbing his mask by the red glowing holes in the front, and taking it off, which produced a weird sound like steam escaping a pressured valve. Oh whoa! Speed's golden hair tied in a low ponytail framed his finely sculpted face. His glowing red eyes were his most striking feature, like two perfect rubies that gave his look a cold intensity, a sort of princely aura that couldn't be felt with the mask on. Sofia had expected nothing and was shocked that she actually found Speed's face to her liking. It was easily number 2 in her ranking, right after the long-deceased Armand Skirich from her first trial. Much better, Saria approved, nodding, well, I'm leaving my precious sister in your care for the evening. Have fun, she finished with a giggle, walking away to join Parith and Bookie who were waiting for her to play cards in the future Bone City's first Bone House prototype. Well. Where are we going? Sofia asked, now that she was alone with Speed who looked honestly uncomfortable without his mask. Yes, since you're appropriately dressed, Do you know about the Hell's Gate Lodge? Speed asked semi-nervously, his eyes strangely fixated on Sofia's as if he was scared to look anywhere else. Never heard of it, no. Oh. Well, it should be a nice discovery then. It's better that way, actually, yet. Let's go. I'm paying so you don't have to worry about it. Wait. What do you mean you're paying? Sofia protested. Hey? The man should pay, isn't that how humans do it? I was sure. And no, I mean, yes, but the date was meant to be for me paying you in the first place so. That, Speed answered, blinking a few times, I want to pay, is that fine? Sofia couldn't really argue with that so she just nodded. She was not one to refuse a free meal anyway. Can you fly? Speed asked, as Sofia had currently her wings clipped, which made the answer not obvious, although he had seen her with wings previously. Sofia made a difficult face, not with this robe. Then. Will you let me carry you? It'll only take a second. Sure. Sofia agreed after some hesitation. The robe did not help make the process any less awkward, but after struggling a bit, Speed solidly got a hold of Sofia in a princess carry and departed from the Bone City's foundation platform. It was like the world warped around Sofia and Speed, it did not even feel like moving, everything vanished into darkness except for a bright point light appearing in front. Then it stopped, it had lasted less than a second, but they were no longer in the swamp, but in a dimly lit corridor with art on the walls. There was a fancy and colorful long carpet that led straight to a door guarded by 2 avian men in black suits with black masks. They look like a turn-on, Sofia thought, focusing on a random detail of the otherwise completely strange place. Speed delicately let her down. There we are. I hope this wasn't too disorienting. It was a bit strange, but I'm fine, thank you. Where is this, though? Hell's Gate Lodge, Speed said again, quite deep underground below an active volcano, some ways east of the Beastman continent. I have no idea how this place came about, but I've had a business meeting with a client here last year. It's fancy? Last time I was here there were quite a few demons around, so I thought you might like it. It looks expensive. Are you sure this is fine? Speed shrugged. I'd rather my first date ever not be ruined because I was a cheapskate. Your first date? Sofia asked. What? I've been busy. Is that a problem? I just didn't think. Anyway, no, it's my first real date also, Sofia admitted, looking away. Really? Speed reacted, sounding much livelier all of a sudden. He then tried to relieve the tension a bit. Let's go inside, we are going to need to wait a bit for the food to arrive anyway, he explained, starting to walk toward the door. Sofia watched him take a few steps alone, before he turned back. Is something the matter? He asked, seeing that Sofia wasn't following. Nothing, Sofia denied, joining him, unwilling to admit that she had been kind of just admiring his back. Does his skeleton also look that good? She wondered in amazement. Thankfully for Speed, he was not able to hear her thoughts. After Speed had a quick discussion with the guards that Sofia entirely zoned out as she was too focused on analyzing his bone structure, the door to the Hell's Gate Lodge opened, instantly mesmerizing Sofia with the smell of delicious food and wine. Speed had made a good choice. As Speed let Sofia enter first, she was surprised, her eyes meeting an unknown but familiar gaze. An unremarkable-looking human was sitting alone in a corner near the entrance, a fork halfway in his mouth. Richard. Chapter 580, Totally Normal Conversations. Another masked avian quickly showed up to lead Speed and Sofia to a table in another room, and Sofia lost sight of the person who looked an awful lot like one of Richard's spare bodies. There were exquisite sculptures and paintings exposed everywhere, which made the restaurant feel almost like some kind of museum, and Sofia couldn't help but feel like she was a bit out of place. I suppose it's not too strange for someone like Richard to come eat here? There were not that many guests currently eating, but Sofia recognized no one else among the various races of people busy eating and conversing on the other tables. The masked avian led them all the way to a darker corner where a few booth-like spaces each had tables for two, which were actually on some kind of a balcony overlooking a theater-like scene that was currently empty. 2 of the 5 tables already had a couple seated and sharing drinks. Bringing them to the leftmost table, the avian snapped his fingers and the candles around the booth all lit up, while the chairs pulled themselves back. Will this table be all right? Yes, thank you, Speed answered right away. The masked avian nodded. Have a seat, we will bring the menu shortly, he said before he turned around and left. Sofia and Speed awkwardly sat down. Someone you know? Speed asked, taking Sofia by surprise. It seemed he had noticed her looking at the potential Richard. Kind of? I'm not sure I'm allowed to share the details, but hey, I recognized a fellow necromancer, I suppose. Sofia answered, uncertain about how she would even begin to explain Richard's antics and her connection to him if she tried. Oh. Not some previous lover or anything like this, then. Sofia frowned a bit. Are you fond of reading romance fictions? What would even be the chance of meeting someone like that here? Not to mention, did you forget the part about this also being my first date? Aha, sorry. I'm just a bit nervous, not really used to this. At all, he apologized, pulling on the collar of his shirt a bit, and eventually undoing the uppermost button. Well, it's nothing, I feel the same way, honestly. Also, are you quite sure that this is fine? Sofia whispered, gesturing to show the surrounding restaurant and the scene below. Are you worried about my finances, still? Speed asked in return. And about mine? There's always a cost for free things, Sofia told him, and it just feels a bit weird to let you pay for everything. Especially when I'm the one who suggested the date in the first place. If I just make enough good memories from tonight it'll have been well worth the price. It's hard to make meaningful connections when. You know. The avian came back with 2 full glasses and 2 velvety slates covered in glowing text. He placed the glasses in front of them and looked at Speed. Do you need an explanation? No thank you, I've been here before, Speed answered. Very well, we wish you a pleasant evening at the lodge. Saying this, the avian left again. Seeing Sofia looking at the contents of her glass, Speed explained. The drinks are free, and you do not decide what you get, supposedly it's always good, though. As for the menu, you just trace your finger along the item you want to order and they will send it when it's ready. The dishes change regularly, so I've not tried any of those. I don't see a price anywhere. Sofia thought, but she did not bring it up as she had already been quite insistent on the matter of money. She looked at the name of dishes one by one. Looking up from the menu, she asked, "Do you usually eat?" "Yes. I've no choice, actually. When I said I accepted many restrictions in order to come here to the physical plane. Eating, drinking, sleeping. I need to take care of it all. It was a bit strange to get used to at first, but now it's just everyday life. Interesting, I'm the opposite, I suppose. The need to do these things has disappeared as I became stronger over the last few years. I still do them, but not quite as often." "Right," Speed interjected, "I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I meant to ask, how old are you, exactly?" Sofia giggled, "You don't need to be so apprehensive. I'm afraid I don't know the answer, though. But around your age, I guess." What do you mean you don't know?" "Well, I kind of just stopped counting. It just feels futile, you know. Why do I care if I'm 24 or 26, when I often spend my time speaking with people older than 1,000? But doesn't the system status thing show you your age?" Speed asked as if he wasn't certain of the answer. "Can you see system windows?" Sofia asked in return, knowing that gods did not have a scribe. "If you show them it takes some effort, but I can." "Well, there you go, then." Sofia opened just the top section of her status with her name, age, and class. "Is that the locking symbol?" Speed asked with narrowed eyes as he squinted to see the system window. "Yes. It's been locked at 21 for a few years now. So like I said, I'm probably 24, or something around that. Certainly not 30 yet. What about you? You mentioned before you were 20-something. Doesn't seem very precise either." Speed sighed. "Yeah, it's a pain to explain, but my age is basically impossible to accurately keep track of. My perceived age, anyway." "Perceived age? I don't think I can explain it without sounding crazy." "You're talking to a half-demon necromancer." "Right, I wanted to ask about your class." "Well, one thing at a time. Basically, I can go too fast, and that kind of breaks time. Like, I'll be running for a minute, and 5 minutes will have gone by somehow. So if you ask me how long I've lived, I'll say about 20 years. If you ask how long it has been since I was born, though, it's more like 33 or 34, if I remember correctly." Sofia needed a second to process what Speed was saying. "Going too fast breaks time?" Speed sighed, looking down. "See, I knew it sounds too crazy. Way to look like a lunatic." No, Sofia dispelled his worries, "I'm inclined to believe you, actually." "Really? Do you even have a reason to lie?" Sofia asked. "I don't think it even sounds that crazy. I'm someone who's died hundreds of times, yet I'm still alive, so really some time bending isn't the craziest thing. Although it does raise the question, how is time being dead affecting this? Perhaps it's exactly because time is dead that going too fast is making things go awry? Speed is just movement through time, so speed and time are closely related concepts." "You died hundreds of times?" Speed repeated, incredulous. "Well, you know. Necromancer. Being dead is not that bad as long as you don't stay dead." "Yet. I'd rather not try that, thank you very much," Speed said, sitting further back in his chair. "You're a god, so I don't even think you could try that anyway. And actually, can I ask about how a god's birth happens? I get that the essence gathers to create the god, but how does that feel, from your perspective? Is this fine to ask?" "I don't mind talking about it. But I want to hear about your childhood too, then." "You have yourself a deal," Sofia answered with a smile. "My childhood was terrible, though, so be ready for a mood killer." "Mine wasn't particularly good either, so where do I even start? Do you know about the godly domains?" "I've been to a few." Speed paused for a second. "Every time you open your mouth I want to ask another 10 questions, he then cleared his throat. "So, I first gained consciousness in Speed's domain, the previous Speed, to be precise. When a deity first forms, we inherit some of the previous god's memories, if any, and a bunch of general knowledge from the people supplying us with our essence. It's a lot like being a huge sentient book full of stories but that doesn't know how to read. You have memories and knowledge that aren't yours, and you're barely able to understand that you're an entity separate from that. It's truly disorienting. Like a sentient book, hey?